Hey everybody, Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands, ancestrylands.com. So we're kind of on the move now. I love taking walks through my neighborhood, and for the 3 years that I have lived here in Pennsylvania, I've noticed there's an empty lot here that I even looked at. Man, I would love to own this land because it definitely was going to get developed. As I'm walking here in the local neighborhood, this is a small parcel. I wouldn't say I probably own maybe a parcel this big, and I'll do another video connecting this parcel, figuring out the size and things like that so people can see it. I actually did look it up once upon a time years ago, but right behind me, as you can see, this actually is a very small particular lot here, and I'm going to go up here and take a brochure. These are custom homes being built in this area, and they are brownstones being built here. And you know, it says here they're 3,500 square foot, 2-car garage, and pretty much they're like townhomes, really large townhomes for people to live in. You can see there, I think they have an elevator they're going to use to go up and through the middle there. And there's about 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there's about 4 units, so it's a total of 8 units. So one of these things that I really love is that we talk about lots, land use, and space. Well, take a look at this house right across from me. Literally, I want to say about these two homes, this home here in the light cream and this home here with the front porch, and this space right across from me. That's 3 actual homes, right? And those 3 homes, the same amount of space, is literally probably the same amount of space right behind me. And instead of trying to build 3 structures, they managed to build 8. All right, 8 structures. Try not to trip on a curb here. 8 structures. All right. Now, whatever you could possibly sell these single individual homes for, definitely, I don't even need to tell you here, but they're starting modern townhomes, if you can read this, at 1.2 million per one. All right, and that's just starting. So again, when you all are thinking about land, everyone acts like you need acres and acres and acres to build on land, and you really don't. You don't need a whole lot of land to build when you can also build up, when you can go higher up on the land. Now, if you have setbacks that allow for you to build, they're doing a garage down below, first floor, second floor. So it's essentially a 2-story building because your garage is in your front, on your basic 1 level. So again, they've utilized this space to the maximum. It's in a great school district, one of the top school districts in the country. So if you're buying land, even for people who own land out in California City, this is a great way to think about. Because in California City, you can use two levels. There are homes in the area in California City around lots that I sell that have 2 levels, an upstairs and a downstairs. Well, there are lots that I sell that have mixed residential uses. For some of the people out there who have mixed residential land, this is a great thing to think about doing, to build some brownstones. Here, 2-car garage, 4-stop elevator, 3 to 4.5 baths, 3 to 5, and a rooftop terrace. So up at the very top here, there's going to be a rooftop terrace that they actually have access to because there's a lack of yard space here. So, and again, in the video I did with Lavelle, we talked about certain things like setbacks. So here's a setback here, okay? Setback is, this is the front part of the street here. There needs to be a certain amount of feet that you have from that edge of that building all the way up to the front part of the lot. Then if we go here, side of the building, I don't know exactly what the setbacks are, but the setback, again, they have to have a certain amount of clearing space from the back side to the edge of the property. This is what we talked about, why it's important to find out what your borders are, because sometimes people who have land do not have another neighboring structure next to an empty lot. So what you don't want to do is, if this was the fence that they built, you don't want to be encroaching on another person's property. This building to the left, you need, and this building on the left has to make sure they have a setback too which is their space from the property line. So you see here, this is what a setback is. It's whatever this space is in between here that is necessary, because emergency services need to get piping and plumbing and everything else, like the hose, around the building. If there's a fire in the back part of the building, you can't put out a fire in the back from the front part of the building. You need to be able to get access to this back part of the building, especially if there's rescues. This is one of the reasons why you have setback. There is a front setback to the front of the lot, and there is space in the back too as well, where you have setbacks. Now, I'm in Pennsylvania. Setbacks are everywhere. You always have to check your county zoning and the planning and building department when you are looking to build, because the setbacks, as you can see here, this gentleman behind me, there's a space in the rear, obviously, that they have to have for the rear yard. So, and again, services and plumbing, there's a setback to this side. So in our video when I talked with Lavelle, he's right, there's a home right next to, I'll make sure I keep the person's address. There's a setback that you have to have between both yards, because if this gentleman here, if his house is on fire or there's emergency service, that need to be able to get through both sides of the yard. But again, you talk about a very, 1.2. No one says that you need to be able to, you don't have to think in that much money and value. But imagine if you had one parcel of land, say 0.3. Like we have a 0.29 acre property. When I get back, I'll do research and figure out how big this plot is. But it's not a very big plot of land, if you could see. But what they did was they built up. So it doesn't matter where you are, but if you have mixed residential use, which means that you can have a regular home, like these homes across the street, or you can go with something like this where you have townhomes. Now, generally what happens in residential areas is when you're looking to do townhomes are not exactly, they're nice for people who are looking to buy, but a lot of people who have traditional homes, there are single family, or, sometimes you have a, what we call like party houses here, where you have a person living on one side of the home and they share, it's kind of like a split right down the middle. Yeah, I'll see this house right here has an example of that, where you have, see, there's a door there and there's a door here. Literally the house is split down on that line. So it's still a single family residence, but they actually share, they split a wall in the same building. So this is a residential neighborhood. So a lot of times when you want to do a townhomes like this, a lot of the neighbors, they don't particularly like it because it changes the zoning metrics or the mixture of the neighborhood. Because when you start bringing one townhomes in, what ends up happening is this person sells and then they end up wanting to buy and put a townhome to on one of those empty lots. And that can change the complexity of a neighborhood, because now you have people who are renting near people who are actually owning and buying. And sometimes that doesn't necessarily equate to your property values being the same. But think about it from an investor standpoint. If you're a person who's a land investor, or a person who's looking to build, you're in construction and you're buying land from Ancestry Lands, and imagine if you were able to get that property years ago and you were able to get some building started on that. Well, let's say you are in maybe $1 million, $2-3 million in on the building for your loan, construction, and everything once you get done. Well, he's got 8 units to sell at one point, starting at 1.2 million to start. They have, what are these? 90% gas furnace. Look at this. And they got all these kind of incentives for a person to come in. So people still need housing. Yeah, there's affordable housing, but if you're in an area where you can build some moderate, or even, let's just say, affordable housing, like we're going to keep the subject to, then you got to understand that a unit like that with 8 townhouses on a small lot where you can meet the minimum setbacks like Lavelle and I talked about, and you can actually build up, and you're putting modern townhomes in an area, well, even if they were 2 mil into the building, selling units at 8.2, I mean, you just do the math. You got definitely going to have a few million that you're going to put in profit. I mean, that's a great turnover. Think about this, all right? And I used to tell people all the time about winning the lottery. And it's not about necessarily winning the lottery as in you're winning the lottery for, you know, your actual winner of a lottery. But I always try to get people to understand how many years it takes you to work to make the same money if you won in a lottery. So I would always ask people, if you won a lottery, how many millions would it take for you to stop working? And people would say, oh, 20, 30 million. And I would tell them, I was like, you know, if 50,000 is what you make annually, then 20 years, at 20 years, right, you'd be at $1 million. It would take you 20 years of making $50,000 a year. That doesn't account for you spending money on bills. You would need to save $50,000 a year for 20 years to make $1 million or have $1 million saved. So it always perplexes me when people try to say, oh, you know, $1 million isn't a whole lot of money. And I say to them, well, how long can it take you to make $1 million in your current salary function? So let's say you do start out to get $1 million. Well, you start at 20 and you're saving 50 grand a year. Now, please, anybody, let me know if you know one person who's able to save 50K a year starting out at 20 years old, 22 years old, fresh out of college. Please, just because I know there's going to be maybe one person in a million who knows someone who saves 50,000 a year. I'm not talking about makes 50,000 a year. You need to save 50,000 a year. Okay, so save $50,000 a year for 20 years and you'll have $1 million, right? That's just basic savings. So we're not talking about investing in markets, things like that. So keep in mind, you're saving 50K a year for 20 years. Now you got to $1 million. Well, here comes inflation. So your $1 million isn't actually $1 million anymore. So you might need to work to 25 years to get the same purchase value that you got for $1 million 20 years ago when you started saving that you do now, because inflation eats away at your buying power. So even if you have $1 million in the bank, you don't necessarily have $1 million in purchasing power. So again, now you got to work further. So now 40 goes to 45, and then let's say you got a little bit more inflation. So now you can start to see right now, by 30 years, you might have truly $1 million worth of purchasing power. So again, here's another thing. Look, like I said, zoning hearing. Notice is given on February 21st, right? They'll conduct a legislature to consider immediately after during regular meeting whether to adopt an ordinance amendment titled Easttown Township, Chester County. This is about land subdivision and land development, zoning procedures. How you doing? This gets people in an uproar when you live in residential areas and you want to build something that's mixed use. But if your zoning does allow for mixed use, then you're in a very, very, very special area where you can do something like these townhomes. So going back to the financial part, is that what I find is, and I ask nurses this, these are people who can give you weight-based drug dosing, highly educated people. When it comes to finances, they're not as keen on the numbers as they are, say, when it comes to medicine. And that's alarming because most people don't understand how long they have to work at their actual job to make just $1 million. And I'm talking about saving it. So what do? We put our money in money market accounts, 401ks, and we hope that the market yields enough to get us that amount for when we retire. But what if it doesn't? What steps are we doing to facilitate our goals from happening? You had to see this video that I did back about why you want the things that you want. Well, again, you want to retire, but what does it take to actually retire and live off that money? You're working all your life, and we get this job, this career, and we automatically assume that it's going to pay for our needs. One thing I talk to my wife about a lot is that you're 20, even at 41, I'm not going to have the same energy that I have today to work as in 20 more years. You know, we just go through life thinking that we're going to be able to put the doubles in, and there's not going to be a cost to working for, you know, as much as we do. So what do we have to do? We got to think about investments. Real estate is a great way to start investing. The reason being is that people need a place to live. People need housing. Land will eventually be developed. And again, homes will be remodeled. Land will be rezoned. You just got a petition for it. And our population is growing in the sense of you're going to have 20-year-olds going to college. There's people leaving their homes every day. There's people getting married, and they want to look for a home. And a lot of people want to rent. The beauty about having townhouses is that with townhouses, there's a lot of things like HOA. Sorry, I got a bus coming by. It's about almost 3 o'clock here, and school buses are getting out. So what I was saying about townhouses is that people like, and this is the reason why I'm telling you about mixed residential uses, where you can build a townhouse like what we saw back here. The reason why this is more appealing than a single family residential house is because, for one, you have HOA fees. A lot of people don't like HOA fees, but what HOA fees means is that you don't have to take care of your yard. It's taken care of for you. And here it snows, so you don't have to deal with snow removal. So if you're 40, 20, or in any kind of health conditions, you don't have to necessarily worry about the upkeep of your yard. I tell people all the time, I had a conversation with one gentleman, he's from India this morning, and he was talking about like buying a home, and I said, well, yeah, you can, but look at this house right here. It's a big house, big yard. I say probably about a quarter acre of a yard, whole lot. You see that down there? Those leaves? You got to get those picked up. See those trees? Trees have leaves that fall in the fall. You got to maintain them. What about the yard? Somebody's got to cut that grass. It rains a lot here. So no matter where you live, you either got to pay for the service, you got to do it yourself. Okay? That roof, it's going to need to be done. That's just the outside. So there's upkeep and costs that go into there. Look how beautiful this yard is here. Beautiful that yard is cut. Well, you either got to get out there and do it, which is time, or you got to pay a landscaping service to do it for you. All right, I'm right here. Here's a church. Even their yards got to be maintained. Look at it over here. Same thing. Yards got to be maintained. So again, and like I said, here we go. Got another example. They're doing some work right here in the back. I don't know if you can see this here, but they're getting some work done in the back of this house. Well, if they're extending it, want to remodel, you got to pay for that. All right. Your mortgage, everything keeps coming in. At least with these and mixed residential use, you're selling them by the unit. So for the price of this $1 million home, multi-million-dollar home, probably is up on the market if it were to sell, because I know the home in the back of it was selling for about $3 million. There's a home back there was selling for $3 million. I don't even know if it's sold. But again, these are starting at 1.2. So again, even a home in the back, $3 million home being sold, you sell 3 of these and still get that house. You got 5 more to go because there's 8 units here. All right. So again, we're talking about different kind of money. Now I use the $1 million example because it still will work on a smaller scale. You just got to think about it and do your homework. So again, trying to give you guys high level game on the ground, boots on the ground, I'm walking around getting my walk in here, but I want to make sure you guys understand the mindset of land investing. This can make you more money than one home, even that's $1 million. 8 1.2s, so that's a start. That's just $1 million or $2 or $3 million home. So it's still built. You still got to get it built, right? It's still being built from the ground up. Only difference is there's 8 units here on a smaller plot of land than it is that one house. So again, land buyers, think big, think long term. You know, if you want to catch big fish, you got to fish where the waters are deep. All right, it's not for everybody, but there's some people out there that'll listen to this and this will hit right home. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Go buy some lands, like, share, subscribe on this video. I'm doing this video on the road, baby. Take care.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.